to another episode of the Addendum podcast. So today we're very honored to have Dr. Pame here with us from Africa and I believe in the Sahel region right now. And so Dr. Pame, instead of me doing your introduction for you, could you tell us a little bit about how you became a professor of translation, British civilization and literature, and then became a mayor of a town in South Africa that was later converted into an eco-village?
Yeah, thanks very much, Henry and Camilla. I am very pleased to be here today with you, exchanging with you also around the environmental and socio-economic issues in this region, the Sahel. I'm talking to you right now from Dakar, the capital of Senegal, and where also I work. I am at Cheikh Anta Diop University, where I was educated. And I grew up in the north of Senegal in a small village called Guédé by the border with Mauritania. And very young, I used to help my grandmother, who was a shepherdess, to look after her cattle. 100 cows, and each cow had a story, a name, and then she could really communicate very well with her cows. And when I did not go to school, I would go and spend our time together, very far from the village in the forest, for her. And we would spend hours and hours without water, without food. But I was really nourished by the stories she told me about their past, about how it used to be in this region. Because now it's a barren area with almost no trees. It's very hot, very dusty, windy. So the climate change realities are very much present. And when my grandmother was young, there were lions, there were all sorts of wild animals in this area, all sorts of birds, crocodiles, hippos. And then she told me she could walk from one village to the other without seeing the sun. The forest itself was very exuberant, lush, and life also was very easy. And to me, as a young kid, a teenager, all these stories, were very much present in my mind, in my life. And then, all the films she told me. I think my grandmother was my number one educator, and she initiated me to ecology without me really knowing, because she did this very delicately through the stories and everything. And then for me, naturally, as an educator, I also find it, and also a native from this area, it's my duty also to do everything I can and to bring back the forest, to bring back all these luxurious, ecosystems.
Definitely. And so how did your background with your grandmother and the fact that she was really your biggest educator contribute you to becoming someone who might say that's a very untraditional path for someone in your region to become a professor in a university and then later go into politics?
Yeah, still when I was a student, because I also, in my school, I witnessed an injustice I could not forget. Because in my school, there was a classmate who was not only the most brilliant student in our classroom, but also in the entire school. And at some point, the director wanted to get something built in the school, and he asked each student, to contribute about, 200 francs CFA, which is almost nothing. It doesn't even cost, a coffee in some other places. And this student, unfortunately, could not, afford this. And so the director was just very, very, was strict. He said, stay home. And unfortunately, my classmate who was very, very brilliant, was in that situation, and he could not find his way back to school. And later he became very sick. He had tuberculosis. He was a tailor, and that was really hard for us.
Yeah.
And then when I was in England, I shared this story also with some friends, and then we decided to do something about this. We started, collecting money to give school children, school materials, and also build classrooms for to increase the of the schools so that many of the kids, could find. And I'm happy to say today we have built, 13 classrooms and have given the opportunity to 650 students every year to go and, go to school, learn, and also prepare for a much better future. So my commitment also was really started because also of this. I started working with the different classroom, schools, villages, encouraging young kids to go to school and learn. And then from education also I moved to other areas like encouraging also the young people to plant trees, in different places, etc. In 2008, my village, for the very first time of its history, was looking for a mayor because we were promoted municipality, and many people didn't know what a municipality was and how it works. And they turned to me, they say, okay, we would like you to run for the mayor. I said, oh, no, 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 I can't do that. I'm a university teacher. I'm very busy. I've got lots of other things to do. No, sorry. They came to my family, they talked to my wife, to friends, and then I accepted, to take up the challenge. I mean, there were also other competitors who were who were very competent, who were also willing, who wanted also to become mayor. And just by chance, I won the elections, and then I became the very, very first mayor of this community of 7,000 inhabitants in the north. So as I was very much involved in Ecovillage policies and practices in the country and around the country, what I proposed to my municipality was to transition my small town into an eco community. And then we started working with the council, with the district chiefs, with the traditional leaders, with women, with, and yeah, and then gradually, I think also at the national level, we were recognized as such. And then there was a lot of energy that was pulled into the community. And we also, while we were going through these transformation, we also encouraged surrounding villages also to do the same. And gradually also we had the idea of setting up a network of eco-villages. And the biggest program we have is to federate 50 traditional villages in Senegal and 50 traditional villages in Mauritania to turn it into an eco-village hub. And I am very happy to also inform you that at the moment we're working on a big nursery project to develop, to grow 1,000 trees, which is quite a lot, impressive. And then while we're talking now, people are very busy on the ground, turning this into reality. And we're looking for volunteers wherever they are, especially in your place. There is also a possibility to contribute to this even at a distance, because we have also this REDES Agile team, which the members of which are from different places around the world, and they support what is going on here in the Sahel region.
Yeah, definitely. We'll first of all, congratulations on all your progress so far, and we'll come back to that a bit later in this episode. And also, I just want to let our listeners know that all the information on volunteering for REDES Ecovillages will be in the description of this video. sorry, podcast.
Thank you.
So yeah, I'll now give it to Camilla, and she has some other questions.
Yes, indeed. Thank you for your wonderful answer. That was very, very impressive and so interesting to listen to. We would actually now like to ask you a bit about your role as president of the Global Ecovillage Network in Africa. We were wondering, while serving this role, what are your goal and visions?
Yes, many people portray Africa as a poor, dangerous country, as a place no one wants to go, to on holidays. And Africa is far from this. Africa is a beautiful country, a beautiful continent, a rich culture. And of course, Africans have not contributed to very much, to climate change. And here in Africa, we are also cleaning the mess that the industrial civilization created. We have more deserts. We have our rivers that are polluted by all these sort of so-called modern agriculture, which are real wars against, the insects, the ecosystems, and that also end up poisoning the rivers, poisoning people's health, poisoning, and also getting them into debts. And this model is definitely against our interests and against also the ecosystems. So I think there is a rising awareness all over the continent in Africa that people need to find alternative ways to develop their areas, their communities, and also because this model that comes to us from the West is not really the right model for us. I mean, we Africans also we have to do a lot of introspection and to see where we are in this world, what we would like to achieve, where we would like to go, and what are our values, what are our worldview mindset. Because development, is take into account all this at the same time. We cannot develop the way the United States has developed. We cannot develop the way Japan or so we need to find a way that is really African, that is based on African views, African values. And so in 2012, we had the delegations from the different parts of Africa. We met in Sekhem, which is an excellent eco-village in Egypt. And we decided to set up, a Pan-African Eco-Village network. And I happened to be elected as president of this new network. And the role is, to, create a space where we can exchange knowledge, where we can exchange experiences, where we can support each other and inspire each other. For example, through this network, we know in Zimbabwe and South Africa, we have this wonderful organization called RESCOPE, which works in schools to green schools and bring food to the schools and also educate the kids at the same time. Successful, brilliant idea. And the Senegalese people who have been in contact with such a project, I mean, as educators, so they also try to do the same thing in Senegal, I mean, in their high schools. There is a network, a very active, a dynamic network of high schools in Senegal called Ecolico. They also try to do exactly the same thing like in Zimbabwe and green the schools, teach, educate the kids so that they can also produce in their own school, and at the same time, inspire the change of the host village around. And this is wonderful. So this Pan-African Ecovillage Network again is to share knowledge, experiences, and support. So we have experts who come from different places and teach people, and this way we can just implement real change, sustainable change at grassroots level through the expertise of Africans.
Thank you for your wonderful, wonderful answer. I will now hand to Henry, who will dive deeper into the topic of eco-villages that you mentioned.
Thank you.
Actually, before we go specifically into eco-villages, I want to touch a bit more on the point of African values and African culture. So you were born in Bodiam. Please correct my correct pronunciation if I'm
Yes.
wrong. So it was on the border between Senegal and Mauritania, which is at the center of an old African kingdom known as Futa Toro.
Right.
So this sort of going on a tangent here, but how does this rich African cultural history that a lot of people in the West especially ignores become one of the motivators of your work, and how does this history impact what you do?
I am very impressed by all the high quality research you've made on the region. I feel that you know a lot about it. And thank you so much for bringing up all these interesting questions. Um, in my area, money was introduced not long ago. And in many villages, so people, share and still share, the resources they have. Um, and also, Africans are fine travelers. They travel all over. These people, I mean, the houses do not have even doors because travels a lot because every house is a potential hotel. You can go into the house, stay as long as you wish. You will have food. You will share everything that is available in this area. And again, this for me, I mean, as a rural boy, when I got my A levels and I had to come to university, I came for the first time to Dakar. I was very shocked to see someone eating from the garbage, in Dakar, which is a big city, relatively rich and everything. And in my area, such a thing would never happen because when I mean, the doors are open to everyone. You can share meals wherever you go. And so this is important. And also, when it comes to marriages in my area, contribute to the success of the marriage. They bring gifts. They bring, they bear the cost. When it's mourning, when it's sad ceremonies, the people are there. They're also there to support. And this is real happiness, where people are not worried about who will come to their place, who will steal. The children are the children of everyone in the village. They educate all this. They take all the challenges together, which I think gives a notion of security, a notion of well-being, a notion of being surrounded by people who love you. And in the big towns, I think this is getting lost a little bit. But in the villages, still people, when they talk, I mean, speech, is orality. It's a civilization of orality. People do not sign complicated documents and everything. When, for example, we negotiate, after we agree, then that's the signature. Everyone will respect this. But again, with the modernity in the urban centers, the values are changing because in the urban centers, you've got schools, Western schools, you've got the internet, you've got access to international media. And I think things are changing very, very slowly. Again, I think it's important for Africans, whether in towns or in the rural areas, to be aware of all these changes, to be aware of what they're losing in globalization, what they can also gain from the West. So actually, I mean, the vision we have is to have Africans who are deeply rooted in their own culture, traditions, but also open to the rest of the world, so that we can also take the best in the technology, the best in other cultures, and become citizens of this earth. So because today no one can really live in a very locked space. It's all open, but I mean, we need to be nourished by our cultures, and also by the contribution of as well.
Yeah. So I guess your vision with Ecovillages really is trying to sort of integrate the West technology and the good stuff from modernization and globalization with the traditional values of Africa. Am I correct?
I think not only technologies, but again, today, if we see modern, the media and all its ideologies and all these multinationals, I think there are very thick between people. Fear is used as a commodity, to sell so many things, to sell weapons, to really prevent people from traveling, from interacting. I think we all suffer within these very small borders, and because spiritually, mentally, we are all oppressed in one way or the other. I think it's very, very important to establish bridges between communities, between countries, between cultures and civilization, so that people can really reinvent the notion of fraternity, reinvent the notion of living together. So the whole world needs this. Today, if you go to the West, you will find people who are extremely materially very rich, when it comes to material. They've got money, they've got everything, but they're not happy inside because they feel empty, they feel isolated, marginalized, and everything. I think the notion of happiness really depends on the quality of the relationships we weave between us, between communities, between the countries. So what the eco-villages would like to see is this reinvention of fraternity between all people, north, south, east, west, so that we can travel, learn, grow together, protect this planet. In divisions, we will create, we will wreak havoc, we will damage the ecosystems, and then the wealth will be concentrated more and more in just less than 1% of the planet. Percent will starve, will get sick, will get stressed, and I think this is what eco-villages are about. It's a new dream, a new frontier, so that people can just free themselves from all these artificial constraints and really look at each other like a brother, like a sister, so that we can live on a more peaceful, more joyful planet.
Yeah, great. It sounds really, really good, great, honestly. So I'll come back to my personal take on this after a bit after. So actually, before we move on to dive deeply into the topic of REDES Ecovillages, so you talk about your grandmother telling you a lot of stories from the areas where you used to live. So could you use one of the stories to demonstrate the historical and environmental characteristics of the region?
Yeah, and again, my grandmother, as I told you, grew up in an area surrounded by lions, surrounded by crocodiles. One day, while she was just looking after her cattle, she had one of my ankles on her back, and a lion was about to attack her cattle. And she put my uncle on the ground, and then she shouted to the top of her voice. And then that was enough, to scare the lion away and stop it from attacking her cattle. Some other day, she took her cattle also to the river for the cattle to drink. All of a sudden, it was one of the small, was attacked by a huge crocodile. I mean, in her place, I would have just run away to save my own life. But my grandmother wasn't the kind of woman, to run away from, saving her own cows. So she went down to the river, and then she held the back paws of the cattle, and then with her stick, she was just fighting the crocodile till finally the crocodile left the animal, but the animal died. And in my area also, people can talk, communicate with animals. For example, hippos are thought to have knowledge. And for example, the fishermen venerate the hippos, they venerate crocodiles. And so when you cross the river, you also ask for forgiveness for disturbing the elements in the river. Before you take leaves for medicinal purposes, you also have to pray. You don't go every day. You have to go on specific days and specific hour. And also you make sacrifice, like give back, like a salt, like a water, something in return, so that also the tree can serve you with generosity. If you go to the southern part of my country, in Casamance, for example, when a person passes away, and then during the burial, they bury this person with some seeds. And then when these seeds grow and come out, these are seen as the reincarnation of the soul of the person. So, and this forms sacred woods. Sacred woods are divided into zones. Some zones are for young children, other zones are for women alone, other zones are for the elders. So to go from one zone to the other, you need to be of a certain age, of a certain status. And then these sacred forests are like temples. People go in to pray. People go in when they have troubles. They go inside these to discuss. For example, for the women, if uh, to create safe spaces where they can literally share everything, and also go through some rituals to repair also the damage. I think uh, this was a very, very balanced way of looking after ecosystems, creating abundance, and also leading a very peaceful life.
And I think you are bringing all this cultural background and the way of working together with the ecosystem into the notion of your eco villages.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely, absolutely. Because science cannot explain everything.
Yes.
It's important because there are many dark spots, in science. I think spirituality involves all this. It's important today for us to live a very balanced life, for us to live in harmony with nature, also to develop this spirituality. And spirituality does not just mean, being a Christian or a Muslim. No, it's all this, how we relate with the earth, with the world, with life around us. If we respect life, we are already we preserve life, we are already spiritual. It's important to cultivate this, so that people start really respecting the resources. And these Western companies that just come and slash everything and just see opportunities, economic opportunities. No, I mean, money is not everything. So we need to find ways to, really improve our living conditions, but at the same time also be sure to leave the planet, healthier planet, to our kids, to our grandchildren, and also lead a healthy life. And today, it's just, I mean, the model we're applying to this world is no longer working. And we need to find something and some other alternatives. And I think in the shaping of this new world, Africa has a lot to teach. Africa will not play the second roles. Africa, the wisdom, the traditional wisdoms in what we call indigenous cultures, are the real values that the world needs to know to promote, in order also to save climate change, in order to save this planet. And this also, Africans need to understand this, because it's very easy today to be brainwashed by what we hear, by what we see on in the virtual world, and then people will forget. I think, yes, we need to review what education is, how to educate our people, how to. We are at a very important traditional moment in the history, in the movement of this planet. Very interesting all at the same time.
Yeah, that's why we're doing this broadcast in the first place, to inform our listeners and ourselves of important changes that are not only going on in the West, but also in other parts of the world, and how important other parts of the world can be. So now, finally, we can dive deeper to the topic of eco-villages. So I'll hand it to Camilla.
Thank you.
Oh, sure. So thank you for going into all those details about everything that you just taught us on. That was so interesting and so informing. So thank you once again. We would then like to ask you, what are eco villages? They're so interesting, but I think a lot of our listeners, and myself included, are not necessarily too familiar with the concept. And so we would like to hear an explanation from you, an absolute expert.
Thank you very much. There are different kinds of ecovillages. The ecovillages in the north are totally different from the ecovillages in the south. But again, the objective is maybe the same, to live more harmoniously with the earth and make a living that is sustainable. So the idea is really to be rooted on the local culture, and also develop a model, develop a lifestyle that is both in harmony with the nature, with the people around you, a very balanced, life. So in the north, I know also with the industrial and post-industrial area, so families were broken, and the sense of community was lost. And in the north, people are coming together to form communities, to learn again how to live together and share in openness. And of course, they've got their own challenges. So in the south here, where we already have very strong communities, very much what we would like to do is really to revive these the best sides of our cultures, because not everything also is bright in our cultures here. We need to be aware of this, to revive the best sides of our culture, and also integrate clean technologies like alternative, all these renewable energies, and many other also clean technologies, so that we can upgrade standards of our own communities. So the approaches are different, but I mean, ultimately, the goal is really to reinvent a new world, to reinvent new relationships that are based on the mutual respect, that are based also on the respect for nature. And I think eco-villages are sort of open laboratories where so many things happen. And yeah, we're trying to find ways to reinvent our world, to reinvent the way we consume, the way we relate to one another. I think it's a dream. So, and every eco village, is based on a specific specific also specific social realities, and while also taking care of the ecology, to produce also abundance. I think it's about redistribution of wealth, to producing wealth, connecting, and trying also really to revive people, to nurture people, to create also a new mindset also in the communities. And I can really call these ecovillages are of in this world. I've been to several ecovillages around the world, like India. In India, I was in Oroville, in the middle of nowhere. They built, they planted millions of trees, and then they try to live together. They've got a huge kitchen where all the community eats. They support each other. They exchange services. They have also what they call purtus. It's a store called purtus for all. So the farmer who produces beans bring part of the beans, into the store. The other who produces potatoes also brings this. So anyone in the community who needs something goes into this store, and they can serve themselves without having to pay. But I mean, because everyone knows that this is commonwealth. this is absolutely wonderful. In other places also, they've got other sorts of communities based on spirituality, and for example, Damanhur in Italy. Yeah, it's growing all over with different cultural sensibilities, but definitely with lots of generosity, lots of solidarity and cooperation between people.
Thank you. And I would just also like to ask, when did you first get interested in the idea of eco-villages?
I think the term eco-village itself can be very confusing for Africans, because Africans have always lived in an ecological way, sharing resources, minding, nature, respecting, also one another. So in 2004, I was contacted by some friends here in Dakar to go and give a course on African literature to students who wanted to go and start, supporting an eco village somewhere in Senegal. And then I got caught up, I got really interested in this. And then I found out, this could be just a holistic way of, developing our rural communities. And I became, the academic director of this. And later, again, as you know, I became the mayor. I went to Oroville, to other places to find out. Yeah, it's a never-ending learning process for all of us, in eco-villages. Yes, so we learn, and then it really goes well also with and also history and cultures.
And so, did your involvement in this project and the building of eco villages change or impact or affect the way you think and perceive your surrounding?
Oh, most definitely. Because at university, you mentioned it at the beginning of this program. I mean, I am a teacher of British literature. It's quite interesting, Shakespeare can be very interesting, but Shakespeare, knowing all the production of Shakespeare, will not really feed the people in rural areas in Senegal. It's something like a luxury. And I think I started, really reducing my teaching hours at the university to be more involved in community development projects, like, getting wells for people to have access to water, building classrooms, supporting, communities in a very direct and pragmatic, way. I think being involved in eco villages has changed a lot my life. I could have, easily earned so much money, go to places where I can earn, money. But I mean, again, money is not everything. And I feel more connected with my people. I feel connected with my communities, and I think, yes, my happiness is here with the people. And I suppose I change also. I'll try to change, the communities around.
Thank you for your wonderful answer.
Thank you.
Before moving on, I would also like to ask that upon research, we found that there are four categories that eco villages aim to protect. So, could you briefly explain what they are and their significances?
Categories of what? Sorry.
So, go ahead, Henry. Go
Oh,
ahead.
okay. So Camila's question was that she read somewhere that there were four categories that eco villagers was aiming to protect. So could
All
you,
right.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, it's every eco village is founded on four pillars: the worldview, which is extremely important when you want to change a community, when you want to someone think to their own spiritual values, and this is extremely important. And to the social, how to recreate also meaningful social bonds between people, and inspiring and nurturing social bonds. So this is number two. And the three is economics that also make sense, that does not damage, the ecology. An economy that can also redistribute more fairly, the resources, among people. and not, allow, certain areas or certain companies, to hold everything, and then also oppress the rest of the world. And the final part, I mean, I think, is ecology, environment. So how to make sure that the environment is also nurtured back, can also sustain life. I think the way we've lived all these years, people, use lots of chemicals to kill insects in farming and agriculture. People, use also lots of chemicals, to process food, which also create cancers and so many other, disease. I think we need to find, much healthier and less greedy ways to lead this life. I think perhaps I'm not quite sure to have answered your question, but I mean, these four pillars are very clear in Ecovillages. So worldview, social, and economy.
Yes, that definitely answered the question very, very well. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
I'm going to
Camila.
hand it
Thank
back
you.
to Henry to continue with the interview.
Yeah, so continuing now to specifically REDES ecovillages that you're managing. So how does it differ from other ecovillages around the world? Since you talk about the different pillars that each ecovillages are founded on, so how does the four pillars of REDES ecovillages differ from other ecovillages?
Yeah. If you go to an eco village in Scotland, like a Finhorn, they've got lots of technologies. People are rich. They've got heating systems. They've got, really a lot of expensive technology. And they're trying to work also on themselves to create a harmonious community. And in the south here, I think also this region had been subjected to 400 years of slavery and centuries of colonial exploitation, and also with all sorts of cultural aggressions. Our mission is really to, again, get the communities move to one direction in regenerating their own environments, in regenerating their own also cultural ecosystems. Because what's happening now, for example, in the north of Senegal, we are very close to the Sahara Desert, and the ecosystems are damaged. So the kids are there's a massive rural exodus. People are leaving the rural exodus to go to big cities to find better living conditions, to find more opportunities. And our ambition is really to create that will allow these young kids also to believe in themselves, to believe that they can make also their happiness in their own area. And I don't know, I'm quite sure you're aware of all these hundreds and thousands of young people crossing the desert or taking small boats, to get into Spain. And many of them, die on the way to southern Spain. And when they come to Spain or to Europe in general, they feel very miserable because it's just a dream they have been sold, and this dream does not really correspond to reality. It's just important for us in the eco villages that we have awareness very high, so that these kids know that what they're sold is just like illusions, whether in big cities like Dakar or so they need to believe in themselves and take their destiny in control, and start initiatives also together in these areas.
Yeah, so talking about young people in the region and how you're talking about them escaping from Africa, from their reality. So how does, and also you talk about you promoting the opportunities for education for 650 students every year, which is, I think it's amazing. But how does REDES Ecovillages promote the notion of education for young people, and how does it also promote other features such as sustainable living and employment?
Yeah, I mean, as an educator, of course, we believe 100% in the power of education. When you educate people, you empower them, you give them power. So in the past years, not only have we been, encouraging, kids to go to school and stay in school, we have been providing school supplies, we have been building classrooms for the young kids. And at the same time, also, we have been giving workshops for the adult people who did not have a chance to go to school, and how to process naturally their food so that they can use it much later in the year when there's no rain or there's no production. They can either eat or put it on the market to earn, to have some income. We educate people in a number of ways. For example, to get back to the formal education, in a small village like Lahil, when people when in the not long ago, about 15 years ago, when someone in this village received a letter, they would have to walk about 5 miles to find someone who can read and write and read the letter for them to understand. So we built 4 classrooms in this school. And today, when you go to this village, you see the kids are so proud they can read and write. And then I also, here at the university, I meet some of the students who went to this school, and without this school, they wouldn't have the chance even to come to the university. And these kids also, they help their families with small management, writing, for the people who have some small businesses. It's very, very interesting to see how these classrooms have changed, the life in this rural village. And again, in another place, Bakumbel, which is also in the center of Senegal, where they have a big school, but they had no power, no electricity. And by the simple fact of bringing solar panels into this village, it increased the learning time of the kids. And they had the best school results in the region. And then it was very successful. And then people also started bringing children to attend this school. I think it's a combination of so many things. And also sometimes we also have very unexpected results. We here in Senegal, in the rural areas especially, bringing water to the family is the business of the girls, and it's a time consuming. It takes about 6 hours a day to get water for the family. And then if you spend 6 hours a day, providing water, you don't have any time, for education. In my district, in my village, we connected one district, which is a herding farming district, which had never running water. We connected it to the water distribution system. The results was it freed the young girl in this district from the chore of bringing water on a daily basis to their families. With all this amount of time on their hands, they could attend school, and I think it's very, very pleasing to see this happening. So totally unexpected. It's just difficult to see how bringing water can be related to education. This is also what we learned, while also implementing these projects in the ecovillages.
Oh, sounds, yeah, like a lot of like these unexpected opportunities come up when you actually start to do something, like implement the projects. So, speaking of projects, I want to sort of go on a tangent to illustrate a point, not a point, just like a sort of another aspect to development in the region. So, I was once listening to a college admission officer who said like she was reading all these application with students going to Haiti to build hospitals, and then it got to the point that she said she thought like there was a hospital every two blocks in Haiti or something. And then so my point here is that a lot of time there are foreign aid projects especially in places such as Africa, that sometimes doesn't take into consideration the culture, historical backgrounds in the area, and that fail because of it. So how does the project of REDES Ecovillages and the benefit it proposes differ from the foreign types of aid that might not take into consideration these specific regional factors?
Yeah, you are absolutely right. You go to a place and then you build, a high-speed train, ignoring the local realities and the local needs. This is bound to fail. This is what is really happening at the moment here. We have a leadership, a local leadership, high-level leadership that is not very much aware of the needs of the local communities. For example, in my country here, recently, our national government bought a high-speed train for such a big amount of money. You just hear this, you will just go get sick because it's so much money. When you could, with this money, you could, build schools, you can bring water to so many places, etc. I think, this sense of priorities is not really operating at this level very often. And a few years back, also in my village, was there was a volunteer who came from the US, to start a fish farming project. I think she just wanted to prove herself that, to herself that, this project could thrive in this area. She came, she implemented alone. There were big fish, everything was successful, and then she left. And the villagers were not connected, were not even informed of what she was doing. I think very often also what's happening here in Africa are very often NGOs money, or NGOs have their own agenda that are not really in conformity with also the needs of the local people. And this needs to change because also what happens is when the West gives some sort of subsidies, I just would like to put this into brackets, to Africa, they export all their, leaders and officers here, which is also, and they stay in hotels in very expensive districts. They have big cars. This is also a way to repatriate also part of these funds back home. And this does not make sense at all. And also when the European Union, instead of supporting local community initiatives, gives big money to the army, to the police, to stop people, illegal immigration. What people need are bridges. What people need are support. What people need are, compassion. So that, and also people, when I see this big wall that the U.S. had been trying to build between itself and Mexico, this is very sad. Reminds me of the past, mistakes in history. So what we need actually are people can support one another, can talk, can try to live more happily.
Yeah, I think that's really a problem that we're facing here in the West as well. We're so polarized and also atomized as a society and not really trying to communicate. So talking about communication, I want to move on to Camilla to talk a bit more about the international involvement of REDES Ecovillages.
Yes, of course. So we would like to ask you about some of the REDES Ecovillages' international involvement and experience. If you could give us some stories, we would be more than happy to listen to them.
Thank you. Yes. I think also one of the silver line around COVID is that people, could also experience other ways of working, other ways of connecting and cooperating. But I mean, our own history, our own story with REDES is, came much earlier, before COVID. We have an international group of students, experts of all sorts, forming agile REDES team, which stand for art, supporting. For example, today our website is in 5 languages: French, English, Portuguese, and what did I say? French, English, Portuguese. Sorry, there's a there. Does it
Don't
disturb
worry,
you?
it's okay.
Right. And also Pular, which is spoken by over 100 million people in West Africa, is also used in the website. And this was a gift of young students in Brazil who worked really hard to make this happen. And also we have recently ended a campaign to collect, to fundraise, to support the ongoing projects. In the past also, because also many of the eco-villages we have here started with international students and local students teaming up and going to villages to support local community projects. Most of the eco-village dynamics started like this. And of course, REDES is wishes, to restart all these programs and have students, international students who come, and we recruit an equal number of Senegalese university students so they can come together, learn. We give them, orientation classes in Dakar. They meet with other it's the neighbors who are working, and so together they can work and learn, and we create overlapping learning communities, first between students and the local communities. Our vision is really to bring international and local youth, local students together from one another. They can also serve the communities and serve the earth. In the past, we've had, hundreds and hundreds of students from the US, from all different other places, and together with local, Senegalese university students. And most of the eco-villages in Senegal started this way. And again, working on community projects that matter, to the local communities. And the local communities are also involved in these projects, and they take it much further. And so every time also when we come back, also support the different processes. For us, I think there's in spite of internet, in spite of all these TV channels, etc., very little about each other, very little, again, because of all these thick walls between us, again, also that keep brainwashing us all over the planet. I think it's important to try and go overcome this through education, exchange, and between the youth, between people, between communities. This is also one of the reasons why REDES is trying also to twin with eco-villages in the north. So far we have twinning programs with an eco-village in Spain called Los Portales. Next week we're going to celebrate this online. They will sing, we will dance together, we'll exchange our dreams, and we will try also to keep learning from one another. We are also connected with Damanhur in Italy, as a twin eco-village. And we have a number of other partners around the world, in eco-villages and universities. So yeah, I mean, our dream is really beyond also our daily constraints here, challenges here. We would like to solve this, but at the same time also reach out to our people from around the world so that we can give each other hands, we can work together, we can learn, we can laugh together, we can dance, we can exchange our food, our knowledge, and grow from there.
That's a beautiful answer. Thank you so much. Since you brought it up at the very beginning of your answer, I would just like to ask if COVID-19 has affected this project at all, or has impacted it in any way.
Yes, we have received less international volunteers and less resources, but at the same time, we have kept, working, planning, and developing some projects. While also there were all these traveling constraints. For example, these past 2 years, we've been able to dig 32 drinking water wells in different villages, giving access people to water, and also giving water to their cattle, and also they can also develop some small orchards also around these wells. This was also very important. But again, it's and also this transborder also Ecovillage hub, I think it has also limited our activities, our interactions, our visits. We could not cross the border as we wish. And yes, so COVID has slowed us down. I mean, right now also, I think we are having our waters, our heads are emerging out of the water. And we foresee also the time when we can, really again cooperate and come together and work. And yes, so definitely it was a difficult moment, even though Africa was not very much affected as we thought it would be. Yeah, maybe because of the youth of the African population, because also of the living styles, because here many people live out, and it's very hot, and people do not live very close, except in the big cities. And maybe it's due to all this that we didn't have as many casualties as we feared we would have. And fortunately, also we're slowly getting out of this. The whole region is getting out of this, and let's pray that it does not strike us back again. So if you don't mind, I would like just to add this comment. I think what COVID has also shown us around this globe, that we are one global community. One thing, whether good or bad, in any other place on this planet will affect everyone. We are all related. And I think COVID-19 has made this very clear to us, that we are all related. No country can just become wealthy, safe at the expense of other countries and other communities. So I think we really need to rethink about our own paradigms, our own way of life. It has also really opened our eyes, and hopefully it will also open our hearts soon.
Thank you so much. And just before we continue on with international involvements and such, I would just also like to ask, what are some other challenges and difficulties that you have faced during your time as president of the REDES Ecovillages?
I think one of the most difficult things is really to change mindsets. That's the most difficult thing. You've got opposition in local communities, oppositions in local governments, or oppositions that you don't expect. If you Google this, you may see also some of the articles I wrote to criticize the Ministry of Environment of Senegal, and it was really a time of I don't know. It's to confront all these issues at the same time. But I think, really being a former mayor myself, knowing how local governments work and what their challenges, being a university teacher, being also, someone from a village in the north. I think all this personally, I think, have helped me be prepared to, work through these challenges and, yes, get the things done. I think today we are more and more accepted, and all the change we are trying to implement here is being accepted. Today, REDES has signed, partnership agreements with the local government of Gamajisare on the Senegalese side, and also Dar el Barka on the Mauritanian side. And the National Agency for Reforestation and Ecovillages also is really willing to work with us hands in hands. They associate us with what they do, and which was not the case with the previous team. I think, it's all a question of energy. It changes. But I think as we are determined, we are open, flexible, there will be challenges. I mean, life itself is not easy. Of challenges, we embrace these challenges and accept it to go forward. Yeah, and also in total humility, learning or being able to open up and learn from everyone around, from the elders in the villages, from the officials, the government officials, from the journalists, and connecting, and having allies and making important alliances at different levels. I think this helps us, also go forward.
Thank you so much for your answer. Henry, would you like to continue with your question for international involvement and experiences?
Yeah, I have only two more questions left, and now we will not take any more of your time. I'm sure it's very
It's a
valuable.
pleasure.
So, first question is in your interview with Global Ecovillages Network in 2013, I think, you said that from 10 years from 2013, you see your ecovillages having more infrastructure, such as community radio station, center for teaching, beekeeping, and fish farming. So, are these projects completed? And if so, where do you see your projects in the next 10 years?
That's a very good. That was a dream 10 years ago, and we're still working also to make this dream happen. Today, we're finishing the construction of an community training center in Lahel, which will play a major role in helping this trans-border eco-village emerge. And around this, we have also a food forest that is also growing. And and the idea is also to develop biogas units in the villages to provide light, to provide energy. And we're still looking for experts. We're still looking for generous hearts, young people who are committed, who can come and help design and help implement. The dream is never over. So we have accomplished a lot, but I mean the journey is still long, and we're looking for caravans of young people, young. I mean, really, the age, it really doesn't matter. Young at heart. This is what I mean. Can be people who have some experience, who want to visit, and yes, I mean this is an open platform. The villages are open. We have connections in different places, and we hope that people who would like to visit will come and see and learn, and also get their hands on what we're doing. Yes.
Yeah, so talking about,
Also is
yeah,
sorry, my dream also is really to connect, to be able to have regular study abroad programs, when the students can come as groups, and then we match them with local students here, and we go and plant trees, we go and clean villages, we go and teach, we go and dance together, we go and visit historic places, and interview elders, interview university teachers, and also at the same time use our hands and sweat in the fields and work for the communities. Yeah, if you can pass this message to people, we would be really delighted to welcome also.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, my next question is actually regarding how our listeners can get involved and contribute to REDES Ecovillages.
Yeah, we have various social media platforms. We are on Instagram. We have this website where you can find our email address and contacts, and then you write, we can connect. Agile REDES team is also here to help us also coordinate all this international effort. Yes, I think if you Google this, REDES Ecovillages, then you can easily come up with, find our addresses and get in touch with us, so we can see what, try and match, the visitors, expertise, expectations with also the realities in the village and what is really needed in the village. Yes.
Yeah, great. Actually, we'll leave all the links in the description of this episode, so everyone could just go on, and I'll also post them on every social media platform we have.
Excellent, thank you.
Because I think
and
it's
also,
a really important project.
you know, students, many of our newsletters have been written by students because we share this. I mean, we have working sessions where we provide the information, where we provide the pictures, and explain to them, and they keep asking questions like you're doing now. And at the end, they help, you know, us, you know, write these newsletters in English. And also for the social media, people are in different places, in Brazil, in the US, in other places. And we're looking forward to receiving more volunteers who can also support this. And we can develop, you know, a constellation of love, a constellation of support, a constellation of cooperation, so that we can work together, learn together, even at distance.
Yeah, so sounds really, really fantastic. And
thank you.
Finally, one final question. I'll leave it to Camilla.
Yes. Oh, right. Okay. I'm sorry, I was reading the wrong document. So we would just like to know, what is a message or piece of advice you would like to leave the audience with before signing off?
Thank you. I think the world as it is now may be depressing to many, but I mean, it's a fantastic opportunity for action. We need to and stand firm on our feet, give each other hands, and work together, and make this planet a better place. Because I think even the global north is also facing so many challenges. People are lost, disconnected, fragmented. In the south, you know, people are deprived of their own resources. It doesn't make sense. It's irrationality all over the place. And we need to find ways to fix this irrationality and make the world, you know, a much better place for our children, for, you know, the future generations, and for us also. Yeah, I mean, we cannot just lose hope and do nothing. Stand up and really struggle for making this change, this our world, and also the world to come. Everyone, wherever they are, can do something to make a difference. Whether isolated, whether in the north, whether in the jungle, or anywhere. I think depending on what we do, depending on how we see things, we can definitely, you know, make an impact and change. And no action is small. Makes sense. Yeah, let's try and do positive things for this planet, however small these things are, because they will impact. And again, as I said a little earlier, anything we do in one part of the world will definitely impact, you know, the other part of the world. It's just like these small butterfly wings in Australia that can, you know, end up making a storm in Canada or some other places. So everything is related in this small planet, beautiful planet as well.
Thank you. Thank you so much for that beautiful answer of yours. And
Thanks,
Henry,
Camilla.
any final words?
No, I would just like to thank you so much for coming onto the show. And personally, I heard that my humanities teacher was discussing some possibility of a student trip after COVID. So I think that would be very, very interesting. And I think I would definitely be on that trip myself. And yeah, other than that, I want to thank you so much again for your time. It was a pleasure talking to you. And we'll finish it off here. Thank you so much.
Excellent, and thank you. I mean, this was really a pleasure for me to talk to you, because I feel you've made a lot of research, you've learned quite a lot, and thank you so much. And I'm really happy also to hear that your faculty members are, you know, considering also a trip to here. You would be most welcome to learn different things other than what television offers, other than what internet offers. And here is a very warm, welcoming place where you can visit and learn and also work together with the people.
Sounds great. I think I'll be there, probably. Perfect. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much.
In my language, Jerejef.
Jerejef.
Yes, well, thank you. Bye-bye, my friends.
Goodbye.
Bye. Bye, Camila. Bye, Henry. It was a pleasure.
Bye. Thank you everyone for tuning in to listen. I hope you enjoy listening to this episode as much as we did during the interview.
If you liked this episode, learned something, or just want to help out a bunch of students, please leave a review, write a comment, and share this on social media. If you are listening to this on YouTube, please subscribe and write to us in the comments.
All the books and other resources recommended by the interviewee are in the podcast description/video description depending on your platform, and depending on when you see this, you might be able to use our affiliate link to purchase them.
The Marianopolis Addendum podcast is actively seeking local sponsors here in Montreal, so if you are interested, please contact us at the email linked in the description. All the profit generated by this podcast will go back to fund our club's activity. If we have any surplus, they will be donated at the end of every month to a local charity.
This episode was edited by Jessica.
And the artwork is done by Camilla Huang.
The producers and guests associated with this episode may express their opinion, but this podcast does not support any political parties. We only aim to bring different perspectives on different issues through the free exchange of opinions and ideas.
We look forward to seeing you at our next broadcast. Cheers!